Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to another video from Tall Travels. So I've come down here to the embankment today because I was looking for a quiet spot to make a video, but although it's very pretty, it's not terribly quiet. We've got a wonderful ship here. Look, it's the Poltava. Look how intricate it is. Fantastic. Look at that everybody, the last remnants of winter are floating down the river. I'd say in a day or two there's going to be no ice left whatsoever. Anyway chaps, I didn't come down here today to talk to you about boats and icebergs. The subject of this video is going to be, should you date a Russian lady? Should you date a Russian lady? Well, like everything in life, it depends. Maybe. There's a lot of men from the Western world and also other parts of the world that are seeking out Russian ladies for their traditional values, their femininity, and also, of course, their good looks. As I mentioned before, some of these men are seeking out Russian ladies and also Slavic ladies in their native countries, but there are men coming to this part of the world primarily to find themselves a girlfriend or a wife. Wow, check it out everybody. That's some kind of creepy half sphinx, half human lady with nice tits. In the West, I don't think you can have monuments with bare breasts anymore. A lot of men that come to this part of the world have very idealistic ideas about the women here. They assume they're all going to be feminine, family orientated, have conservative values. They're going to have long flowing blonde hair, maybe wear flowery dresses in summer. Maybe now at Easter time they're going to be painting Easter eggs and selling them at the church fete or something. I chose an absolutely horrible part of town to make a video. I can't even get across the road. Okay, I'm heading back the way I came. This is awful. I'm going to find a crossing down there. So yeah, everybody, let's get back to it. So yeah, as I said, many Western men have a very idealistic opinion about dating in this part of the world, but when they actually get here, then they find out that they're quite wrong in a lot of senses. When you come to this part of the world and you're dating the local ladies, and these are the most important things to consider. When I say the local ladies, I'm talking about Russians, Belarusians and Ukrainians, because one size fits all, they're all the bloody same. So the main thing you need to consider when you're coming to the former Soviet Union to date is the lingo. So most men coming to this part of the world don't know the language prior to their arrival. So obviously this is going to be a big challenge to you, like it is in many other places in the world. So if you're coming to Russia, Belarus or Ukraine for holiday and you're looking for a girlfriend, then it's going to be very challenging for you and you might want to consider another country. But if you're moving to this part of the world, then I recommend you start with the lingo as soon as you touch down. So for most people that's going to be Russian. So if you're moving to Russia or Belarus, or these days, if you're moving to Ukraine, I'm not sure there'll be many people moving to Ukraine at the moment, but you want to start going with Ukrainian. Now, you could choose to learn Russian when you move to Ukraine, but obviously because of the political climate, a lot of people might not like that. Whichever country you choose, you should get going with the lingo as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to be restricted to a small percent of the female population. So I don't know what the percentages of English speakers are in these countries, but I know in Ukraine you have the highest amount of English speakers. So in the last few years there's been a big increase, I think, in the amount of people learning English. I think that's due to people looking westwards in the last 10 years or so. Now here in Russia or Belarus, you're going to be restricted to quite a small percentage of the population because not a lot of people speak Russian here. Okay, in St. Petersburg, it's probably the highest amount in all of Russia. maybe Moscow is number 2, but once you get out of the 2 major cities, then it totally drops off. So it's going to be very difficult for you to communicate. So in a way, that's a good thing, because that forces you into learning the lingo. Whereas when I was in Ukraine, yeah, a bit more people speak English there, so it tends to make you a bit lazy, and also you find that people want to practice English with you, whereas you should be practicing Russian or Ukrainian with them. Now, even if you come to this part of the world and you learn the local lingo, it's going to take a long time for you to get it up to a proficient level, a meaningful level. So that could take a few years. Now everyone, one issue that I faced personally in the last 10 years or so in this part of the world is that some of the women that I've been dating have been unable to express their deepest feelings towards me. So they might say, Sasha, you know, there's so many things I want to convey to you, but it's impossible because my English isn't good enough. And this, gentlemen, is why most women in this part of the world would rather date a local than date you. So yeah, everybody, it's going to take a few years for you to get up to a meaningful level with your Russian or Ukrainian. And I've at last found some quiet spot here in the middle of St. Petersburg. It's quite a charmless kind of housing estate though, or whatever you want to call it. Right guys, I found myself a bench here and it's fairly quiet, so lovely weather today. I've got my jacket off for the first time this year. Right, so as we said, number 1 is going to be linguistic challenges. If you don't learn the lingo, you're going to be severely restricted in the dating pool. And the second most important thing to consider when dating ladies in this part of the world is cultural differences. So this is massively overlooked by foreign guys when they come to this part of the world, but very, very important. One of the first cultural differences that you'll notice when you come to this part of the world and you start dating the local ladies is that the man always pays on a date, almost always. So this ruffles a few feathers with some Westerners. Yeah, they come to Russia and they start complaining to their friends saying, oh my God, I went out with this girl from Tinder and then she expected me to pay for her coffee and her cake. So if you're going to date in Russia, you should always be expecting to pay the bill afterwards. I mean, sometimes they offer to pay for themselves, which is nice, and that's a good early on sign, I think. Now guys, when you're dating in the West, there might be some things that put you in good stead with dating. So it might be, you might have a great sense of humor, you might be an intellectual, you might be, I don't know, a poet or something like that, but when you come to this part of the world, the same things might not work for you here. When you're dating in the West, you might have a fantastic sense of humor and the girls really dig it. You know, you take them to the bar or pub for a few drinks and they're on the floor in laughter listening to you. But when you come to this part of the world, even if she understands you, then the humor might not translate very well. So, you know, you make some dark humor, for example, and she thinks you're messed up in the head. Or you're looking for a lady that you're looking to have a deep intellectual connection with. So there's not many women in this part of the world you can do that with due to the linguistic challenges. Now, another important thing to consider when dating in this part of the world is being the breadwinner. So like I said, on dates here, you're expected to pay for everything, and when it comes to the relationship, you're expected to be the breadwinner. So women here in Russia, they don't have the same opportunity to make the kind of money that men do. So yeah, it's more traditional here, and like I said in previous videos, you're paying the cost to be the boss. Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to part 2 of my video, Should You Date a Russian Girl? Now it's probably less than 10 degrees here in St. Petersburg, but as you can see, endless sunshine, a cool breeze in your hair, really fresh air, so it feels amazing here. Look at that everybody. I thought all the icebergs would have gone by now, but there's still a few hanging on. I think St. Petersburg has to be the most beautiful city in the world when the sun's shining, so you can take your beach in Thailand or wherever 30 degrees and stick it up your bum. So everybody, it's tourist season again. Most of the ice is gone, so the boats can navigate these canals now. Right everybody, so let's pick up from where we left off a couple of days ago. So we're talking about when you're dating a Russian lady, how the man is expected to be the breadwinner. Well, I don't want to generalize too much or be too cynical, but yeah, that's often the truth. Bloody hell guys, I don't know why all the ice is collecting here and not further up there or down there. Now everyone, that guy back there reminded me of something I was talking about in a previous video, and that's passport fishing. So there's a lot of women in this part of the world, especially these days with all the sanctions and restrictions on travel. They are seeking out a Western lifestyle, so they'd love to move to the European Union or America, and they see you as a way of achieving this goal. And like I was saying before, once she's achieved what she wants, and she's got residency to live in the West, and she has no use for you anymore. All right, everyone, so let's put it this way. The Russian lady is a space rocket, okay? And she wants to go from the ground to the moon. And to do that, she needs a rocket booster. And you are the rocket booster. So once this rocket is up into orbit and has no need for the booster anymore, it's discarded and it falls back down to Earth and it crashes and burns. So that's what could happen to you. Now guys, sorry to go off topic, but I've just come across something happening at the circus and I've got no idea what. Wow, this girl's taller than me. What's this guy doing? Hey, so that's where all the smoke is coming from. Now everyone, another important thing to talk about is many men in the West, they consider ladies in this part of the world to be a bit too extreme for them. So they could be from UK, France, Germany or whatever, and they know that ladies in the ex-Soviet Union countries, especially Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, still hold this Soviet mentality, which is, let's face it, pretty different in the West. So a lot of men should consider instead looking at some other countries in Europe which are geographically in the middle, and also the mentality is between East and West. Right, so there's a fair few men that I've known that yeah, have definitely felt it's too extreme for them in Russia, Belarus, Ukraine and other ex-Soviet countries. So they've gone to other countries such as Poland, Hungary, the Baltics, so Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Czech Republic and countries like that, because you get a bit of a feel for the East there, but things are also very European. Now, like I was saying before about how the facets of your personality might not be fully appreciated in this part of the world because of linguistic and cultural challenges, in these countries I mentioned, there's a much higher chance, and the reason for that is fairly obvious, because in these countries you have a lot more tourism, so they're used to foreign males, and you know, their behavior kind of rubs off on them, and also there's a lot of ladies from this part of the world that are going off to Western countries to work. So yeah, a lot of them are very westernized, let's say. Now, another very important thing to talk about, everybody's polygamy. Now, a lot of people, when they think about polygamy, they think about the Islamic world, but actually it's an ancient Slavic tradition. So polygamy is on the rise here in Russia. And you know what? It's technically legal. So there's a lot of men in Russia who are married to some woman, but he's not happy because he's only married to one woman. So he goes about seeking another woman for marriage, whether it be putting an ad on the internet somewhere, going on to Tinder or whatever. So for men dating a lady in Russia and hoping to marry her, you have to take this into consideration because she might already be married. Now everyone, the last thing I want to talk about is how in Russia they have clearly defined gender roles, like I said, and the man is expected to lead. So he needs to be confident and also make all the important decisions in the relationship. So this can be a little bit uncomfortable for some Western men because it's clearly not like that back in the West. But yeah, it's not a major biggie. I mean, if you're coming to live in this part of the world, then you're going to learn on the job. Right, everybody, so that's about it. So just to summarize, ladies from Russia, Belarus and Ukraine can be excellent choices when it comes to dating. So if you're curious, why not come to this part of the world on holiday? Okay, I know the timing isn't perfect at the moment, and maybe Ukraine is totally out, but yeah, you can come to Belarus or Russia. There's a visa-free regime that's been in place in Belarus for a while. And also this summer in Russia, I think they're starting a visa-free regime as well. So come here and check it out. Now, just one final thing. If you'd like to go on a coffee date with Tall Travels, then my email address is at the bottom. But just remember, you're paying.